HPTI conscientiousness is about planning, organization, and self-motivation. So people with higher conscientiousness tend to be better at planning themselves, their schedule, and their work in the medium and long term. They tend to be better at organizing their schedules, organizing their day, and structuring tasks, and what they want to do and what they want to get done. And they tend to be better at motivating themselves to do it. So people with really high conscientiousness are often described as, self-starters, self-motivated. They're people who can really organize themselves, their schedule, and then just get on with it on their own. Whereas people with lower conscientiousness tend to be a bit more motivated by their environment, social settings, what's going on around them. So people with lower conscientiousness will tell you they're more spontaneous, sometimes they're more adaptable, because they're responding to what's going on immediately right now, and working on that and working in that context instead of for the longer term plan. So that's why we see conscientiousness has a huge impact, positive impact, on a lot of different measures of performance, especially leadership performance. Because if you're talking leadership, you need someone who can plan and motivate both themselves and others in the short, medium, and long term. So high conscientiousness in a leadership or even a managerial role is so important because you need that self-motivation, you need that capacity to organize yourself, plan for yourself, others, the team, a whole organization or department or a company. So if we're looking even at different positions within a leadership team, we see senior leadership tends to have very high conscientiousness, but sometimes someone in marketing, for example, might have lower conscientiousness. Because in a marketing position, you might want someone who's really aware of what's going on around you in the work environment or kind of outside of the company, for what you can respond to. So you need people on the leadership team who have that long-term plan and have the conscientiousness to focus on that long-term plan. But it's also really useful to have people around you who can react to stuff instantly, today, this week, instead of a 5 or a 10-year plan. So we see conscientiousness useful in different types of work, but generally in most types of work, conscientiousness, being good at organization, planning, self-motivating yourself, is a huge asset, and it tends to be related to performance in the longer term. The other thing we see is even to get promoted to a first level manager, frontline supervisor, something like that, that takes a significant level of conscientiousness. So even when you're looking at a team leader, a frontline supervisor, someone in that kind of position, first level of management, often it takes a certain level of high conscientiousness just to get there. And we see people who perform well in those roles immediately have higher conscientiousness. So that's interesting because it sets up the management or talent management pipeline with frontline managers who tend to be above average conscientiousness if it's working well, because you really should be selecting for conscientiousness in even frontline management. And then when you're creating that talent pool of management, you've got those frontline supervisors, many of whom hopefully have relatively high conscientiousness, right? They have that capacity to plan, organize, and motivate both themselves and then hopefully other people. But conscientiousness is one of the most important personality traits because we see in metrics of performance, conscientiousness is always one of the best measures of long-term performance in most jobs or careers. Second really only to intelligence as a stable long-term predictor of performance and high potential.